What's up guys, Tyler at RC Madness. We're putting together a little series for you here. I know a lot of you guys got a car like this. Come on in, Justin. Get Justin around the camera for me here. This is a Slash two-wheel drive that has seen better days. We got one zip tie holding on the rear fender here. And it's been basically mud bogged and trashed, so let's get that out of the way. As you can see, it is in pristine condition. We got bald tires, it's covered in dirt, but it's pretty much an all-stock truck. So for this series, we're going to go ahead and do some upgrades on this truck, bring it back to life, make it look like a cool truck. We're going to put a few $100 into this puppy, so we're going to, a little bit of a step-by-step way. First thing we're going to do in part one here is clean the truck, and then we're going to actually make this one brushless right off the rip here with the Velineon system. We got it right here in stock in the shop. Buy these straight up, 170 bucks, or you can do the trade-in program on that. So we're gonna make it brushless, but first we're gonna clean it up because this thing is dirty. We got dirt everywhere, taped in screws. Fortunately, I don't see anything broken, so that's pretty cool. But all we do is use the simple green right here in a squirt bottle, hose it down, hit it with the air gun, and it usually cleans it off pretty good. Maybe hit it with a little SC1, that's Justin's specialty there. We'll throw a little bit of that on there. What we got some of that up on the shelf here. Little SC1. Shout out to Moms of Enfield hooking us up. Moms of Enfield Motorsports. Pretty awesome guys. So we're gonna go ahead, squirt it down, spray it down, clean it up, and bring it right back and do the installation. Alright guys, we're back. We got it cleaned up here. Shout out to SC1 again guys. Just a simple cleanup here. Can definitely just kind of bring your car around. As you can see, looks like really a totally different car after just hitting it with simple green compressed air, and we hit it with some SE1. Now the SE1 is still a little wet, so it looks a little extra shiny, but we didn't want to wait for it to dry to do the video. I did remove the tires because those were pretty spanked. They've been through the mud, water, they're pretty bald. So we're going to switch those out in a different part of the video. But for this part, we're going to go ahead and do the Velineon upgrade, so you can check that out. We're using the RCM toolkit here with the 1/4-inch bits, so I'll go back and forth with the handle and the gun. The gun, just for those that are interested, this is a DeWalt 12-volt DCF 610. Great gun. Me and Justin use it back here all the time. It's been super reliable, and I don't know, we beat the crap out of it. So if you're looking for a good one, DeWalt wins my vote. So first, we're going to go ahead and remove the speed control. So we have to take the plug out from the receiver box here, so we're going to go ahead and pull that off. It's 2mm. For most of the disassembly, I will use the 1/4-inch drive gun here, just because we're pulling screws out, not putting them in. 2 screws here, hold the cover on. Just keep them right in the cover, set it aside. Got to pull the little cover. Little cover, sometimes they're a little stuck just from the seal on there. Unplug this, channel 2, just comes out the box. Kind of gotta wiggle it through there on the flat side. Then I'm gonna go ahead and unplug the positive negative here. They're a little tight sometimes, but just yank them, they come apart. So now the speed control is disconnected from everything, and we just got 2 bolts holding it on here. Stock truck should be a 2.5mm drive. We'll pull those. And there you go, Speedo is out. Traxxas does make things pretty easy generally. Then we're going to move to the motor. We're going to pull that real quick. Motor cover held on by 2 screws, top and bottom. They are different lengths, which a lot of people mess up, I see, so don't get these confused. Got the top screw, and then there's one on the bottom here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this one is shorter. So a lot of people mix these 2 screws up, top and bottom. If you put the long one down in the bottom, it actually won't thread in all the way, and it'll strip out the hole. So make sure you just keep the long one for the top hole. I would just keep them both in the cover there. You see that mistake a lot. And then we're gonna go ahead and pull the motor out. We still got some dirt in the cover there, so I'm just gonna hit that real quick with the air, and then be right back. Alright, we're back. I just hit that with a little air because some mud got in. There is a hole in the bottom of these covers. A lot of guys will put a piece of tape over that just to keep the stuff from getting in. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and take the bottom screw out first, because if you try to just take the top one, it'll hit the spur gear. So pull the bottom one all the way out. And now if we do the top one, we should be able to pull the motor at the same time. Now if you have a more modern truck, you got to have this plate on the front of it. This plate presets the gearing with this pinion. I think in this video we're going to change the pinion and gear it up a little bit, because in my opinion, this pinion, that was a good one, it is a little too small for the Velineon setup, but you can definitely just go ahead and use it. So we're just going to leave the plate and the pinion right on the motor, but if you do intend to reuse it, you can just pull that all off now. It just slides off, and the pinion just has a 1.5 drive on it. So now we got motor and speed control out of the truck, and we're ready to put the new system in. So we're going to go ahead and open that up to show you what it comes with real quick. So the Velineon system here, I'm going to pop that open. Nothing too crazy that it comes with. But Traxxas is good about including everything you need. Speed control. That's about it in the box here. We got some instructions too. Some instructions and some stickers that it comes with, so that's cool. And we got some extra hardware and tape. I'm not really going to need either of these two items for this one, because this will be if you're doing a rustler or a bandit. You got to change the plate. And then we got some new motor screws and screws to hold the speed control down. I am going to use the screws that hold the speedo down. The motor screws I do not need, because that is if you're using a, like on a bandit or something, they use Phillip head screws. Change those out and use these Allen ones. They hold much better. And I'm just going to pull those out because we're going to need those two screws in a minute. Speed control and motor. Nothing too crazy there to be expected. So there's your motor and speed control combo, and we're going to go ahead and toss it in our truck. We do the speed control first. So we got basically just going in the same way it came out. Surprise, surprise. Take that off, uncoil the wire here. Kind of get it relatively straight so it's not kinked up. And I'm just going to go ahead and bolt it in. It'll line up with two of the holes there, same orientation that the brushed one came out. And I'm going to use those two screws because the ears are thicker on the Velineon system as opposed to the XL5, so you're going to want to use the longer screws. And those are 2.5. Don't have to go too crazy. Tighten those. If your drill's got a clutch on it, this one does, but we get pretty used to using it without it. Good, set your clutch so you don't strip them out, but should be held tight. Don't have to go crazy cranking those down. Okay, so now we got the wire. The red one here is for auxiliary fan. We may or may not put that on later, but it's just got this little holder that it sits in on the side. May have just come out, so you can just put it back in there unless you're hooking up a fan. Run the wire underneath the slot here. Pull the slack. You can leave a little slack on the outside, and it runs in one of these grooves on the receiver box, and it gets plugged into channel 2. A little side note for this, I see a lot of guys will plug in to channel 1. Traxxas has 2 channel 1s on their receiver. So make sure you plug in the servo into channel 1, skip 1, and then channel 2. If you plug them both into channel 1, you're going to have radio problems. Traxxas does that because a lot of their models runs 2 servos. So just a little side note I see a lot of trouble with. Tuck in the extra. Make sure that sits in the groove. Don't pinch your antenna in the box. Want to make sure all your wires are not around there. Doesn't want to cooperate, but I'll catch it with the box. I always put the little cover back on first. Make sure you're not pinching any wires. Should go on. No resistance. Back to the 2mm. Big cover. And it's all hooked back up. Now if you're unsure if you hook that up right, you can definitely just leave that step till last to make sure everything's hooked up and functioning. But I'm pretty confident that we should be good there. Now we're going to move to the motor. Like I said, we're not going to use that plate because I'm going to change the pinion size to probably about a 23. This is a 90 in here, 90-23. Seems pretty good, or you can go with the 86, is not bad either. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in. Do it so the orientation, so the wires are straight up. More or less, it should line up with this top hole in line with the wires, the first screw. Now this one I'm going to do by hand because we are going into an aluminum motor, so it's very easy to strip out with a drill. So using the RCMadness one here because I'm switching between 1/4 inch bits, so it's super helpful. So we're just going to put it in. It can be a little tricky to try to find the hole, so try to line it up as straight as possible here. Just kind of feel it out. Kind of feel it kind of clunk into the hole, and we caught it. Now I usually tighten it a little bit. The motor should pivot freely. Then I just back it off a little bit so the motor's kind of wiggly. If you just go ahead and crank it down, it's very hard to get into the second screw. The second screw, try to line that up best you can, get it started. Should thread in real easy. If it's going in hard, you're cross-threaded. Now again, we're leaving these screws loose. Should pivot back and forth because we got to put the pinion on and set the gear mesh. So we're going to grab the pinion and throw that on there. Alright guys, we're back. A little quick break there, run to the hobby shop. So I ended up grabbing a Spur Gear as well. We're going to change it to the 86. We just noticed this one's got some mileage on it, and while we're in here we're going to go ahead and change it. And I grabbed a 22 because it was out of 23s. So 22, 86 is what we're going to pop on this real quick. So I'll do that real quick. Spur Gear is pretty easy. A lot of guys will take the whole clutch off. You really don't have to. You take out these 3 screws. Careful doing it with a drill because the gear likes to spin. Just take these 3 out. And then you should be able to just pop the gear off. Just stick something behind it. Like so. A lot of guys will take that whole assembly off and then you got a whole other project going on. And bolt that on. Now when you bolt these on, kind of sit in these grooves here. Of course it wants to spin around on me. I usually do these by hand because we are going into a piece of aluminum. So we just get them started. It should go in nice and easy. Now I'm not tightening them all the way down yet because the gear will be crooked. We'll tighten that down. Then we're going to go tighten them in kind of evenly so the gear doesn't have too much wobble. Like so. It should spin, should not have too much wobble. If it is, you might have to tighten a different section. So no big deal. And now we'll toss the pinion on. Now careful of these because they got a little set screw in them. This is a 1 and ooh, well, see, I almost lost it there. So it's a 1.5. Again, going back to hand tools for this. Usually get the screw set on there. And we're gonna need a little Loctite, so we'll go over here to the tool bench here. Got a little RCM blue. Now you don't need much here. Just enough. Just a little bit on the front end of it there. Not too crazy. Otherwise you'll never be able to get it back off again. And I usually get it started on the gear before I put it on the motor. And for those of you that are doing a lot of this for the first time, motors have flat spots on them, which tighten down on the, that's where you tighten the set screw down on. So you're going to want to line it up the best you can, the gears in line this direction, and then tighten the set screw on the flat spot. This pretty much falls for any car that you're working on, not just this one. Don't want to go too tight because I've seen the pinions crack, but you know, snug it up pretty good. Once the Loctite dries, you should be good. So yeah, so when I got the pinion on and the Spur Gear in line and relatively lined up, now we got to mesh it. Now a lot of people will use a piece of paper in between the gears. If you feed one in and then push them tight, usually give you a pretty decent mesh. But basically, rule of thumb is you basically want to have just a hair of play between the 2 gears. And you want to test it in a few spots. So you roll it around and basically looking for something along those lines right there. So you can kind of wiggle it. back and forth. So we're going to set it there and go ahead and tighten down the 2 bolts there. Like so. So just got a little bit of play between the gears, should spin freely. No big deal. If you're using that plate with this gear, you do not have to do that step. You can just bolt it right up. It presets the gear mesh. So that's what that plate is for. So once that's all set, gear cover back on. And remember, the 2 screws, the long one goes on the top, and the short one will stay on the bottom. Again, if you put the long one in the bottom, it'll strip out the hole. You don't go super tight on these, it's just holding the cover on. And then finally, well, I guess we got 2 more steps here actually. We're gonna hook the motor up here. Now these get fed through the hole on the tower. We'll do them one at a time, a little easier. So once you feed those through, and then plug them in by color, just push together. No big deal. I'm going to feed this, so this is on this side. Yellow, white, blue, boom, hooked up. Now all your electronics are installed. The final step is just to calibrate this to the remote and make sure everything works. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright guys, we're going to do the final step here of installing the Velineon. First thing you're going to do, grab a battery. 2-cell, 3-cell, doesn't matter in this situation as long as it's good and got a decent charge on it. Plug the car in, turn your controller on, make sure that's got good batteries in it, and then what we're going to do here is hold down the button to turn it on. So it flashes red, you let go. 1 flash red is full throttle. 2 flash red, full brake. And then it kind of does that rapid flash green and you just let go for neutral settings. This should go back to a solid green, so that was throttle, brake, let go. Solid green, and it's good to go. Give it a test. And it should work properly. Forward, brakes, and reverse, so you're fully functioning. If this is rapidly flashing red, or for some reason wouldn't pick up full throttle, you may have it plugged in wrong here, or something wrong with the radio receiver combo. But everything is installed and ready to go. At this point, you could bolt wheels back on and go drive your truck, but we're going to continue the build. Next up, we got some aluminum upgrades that we're going to do to this one, so stay tuned for part 2.